When we think of ancient Greece, beyond the myths and architecture, our minds almost immediately turn to the era's most influential philosophers. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, a renowned lineage of thinkers, each a mentor to the next. It is said that the longest chain of teacher-student relationships in history begins with Socrates, who taught Plato, who instructed Aristotle, who in turn taught Alexander the Great, who educated the world. When Plato was asked what it was like to be the smartest philosopher in Greece, he replied, "I wouldn't know. You'd have to ask Socrates." Classical philosophy shows us that from the initial steps of the Pre-Socratics to the profound reflections of the Post-Socratics, every idea has the power to transform our way of thinking and living. Let's dive into classical philosophy and discover how these giants of thought influenced science, ethics, politics, and the life we live today. The Pre-Socratics were the pioneers of Western philosophy. Living between the 7th and 5th centuries BC, these thinkers began moving away from mythological explanations of the world and sought rational answers. One of the earliest and most famous philosophers of this period was Thales of Miletus. Often regarded as the father of Western philosophy, Thales was among the first to propose that the universe could be explained by natural principles rather than mythological ones. He suggested that water was the origin of all things, a revolutionary idea for its time. Another notable philosopher was Heraclitus, known for his belief that everything flows. Heraclitus believed that constant change is the essence of the universe, exemplified by his famous phrase, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." Personally, this statement resonates deeply with me. It's a simple metaphor, but it carries a universal truth about the nature of change and the impermanence of life. Pythagoras, on the other hand, focused on mathematics and the harmony of the universe. He is best known for the Pythagorean theorem, but his ideas extended beyond geometry. Pythagoras saw numbers as the key to understanding the order and beauty of the cosmos, while Thales, Heraclitus, and Pythagoras explored different aspects of reality. Other thinkers like Democritus and Leucippus introduced concepts that anticipated modern science. They proposed the idea that everything in the universe is composed of tiny indivisible particles called atoms, a theory that would be rediscovered and confirmed centuries later. With these ideas in mind, we can see how the Pre-Socratics laid the foundations for Western philosophy and science. But the journey through human thought was just beginning, as the names of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle would soon emerge. The classical period of philosophy is marked by the rise of Socrates, one of the greatest thinkers of all time. Socrates was an outlier in the history of philosophy. Born in Athens in the late 5th century BC, he dedicated his life to exploring fundamental questions about morality, justice, and self-knowledge. Socrates left no writings, and everything we know about him comes from the accounts of his disciples, especially Plato. His philosophical approach was radically different from that of the Pre-Socratics. Instead of seeking explanations about the nature of the universe, Socrates focused on human beings and society. He developed the Socratic method, a form of inquiry based on question and answer. This method involved breaking down complex questions into smaller, more manageable ones, leading the interlocutor to a deeper understanding through dialogue. For instance, by questioning, "What is virtue?" Socrates would ask, "What is courage? What is justice?" Thus unraveling the various facets of the original concept. One of the pillars of Socratic philosophy is self-knowledge. Socrates believed that true wisdom comes from recognizing one's own ignorance, epitomized in the famous phrase, "I know that I know nothing." He argued that admitting our limitations is the first step to true understanding. In addition to his method of questioning, Socrates introduced important reflections on ethics and politics. He often discussed the importance of morality and virtue in everyday life, challenging his fellow citizens to reflect on their actions and beliefs. His commitment to the pursuit of truth and his willingness to question established orders ultimately led to his condemnation and execution. Even after his death, Socrates' impact on philosophy and Western culture continued to grow, paving the way for his followers, Plato and Aristotle, who further expanded and developed his ideas. After Socrates' death, his most famous disciple, Plato, continued to expand and develop his mentor's ideas. Plato founded the Academy in Athens, one of the first institutions of higher education in the Western world, where he taught philosophy and science. Plato is renowned for his theories on reality and knowledge, especially through his works The Republic and The Symposium. One of his most influential contributions is the allegory of the cave, an allegory that illustrates his theory of forms. In the allegory of the cave, Plato describes prisoners chained in a cave who can only see shadows projected on the walls by objects behind them, representing the limited and distorted human perception of reality. Plato argued that true understanding can only be achieved by leaving the cave and seeing the real objects in the sunlight, symbolizing the pursuit of true and eternal knowledge. Plato also developed the theory of two worlds: the world of appearances, which is the world of perceptions and sensory experiences, and the world of ideas, where eternal and unchanging truth resides. For Plato, true knowledge can only be obtained through reason and understanding the ideas, while sensory perceptions are misleading and superficial. In addition to his metaphysical contributions, Plato also explored ethics and politics. He proposed an ideal society governed by philosopher kings who would be the wisest and most virtuous of citizens. Plato believed that only these leaders could create a just and balanced society. Plato's influence extended far beyond his lifetime. His philosophy formed the basis of Western thought and inspired countless philosophers, scientists, and intellectuals over the centuries. While Socrates and Plato sought absolute truth and understanding of reality through reason, the Sophists were a group of thinkers who advocated a more relativistic and practical approach. Emerging in the same classical period, the Sophists were itinerant teachers who taught rhetorical and argumentative skills to young Greeks, preparing them for public and political life. The Sophists believed that truth was subjective and mutable, varying according to perspective and situation. For them, there was no single universal truth, but multiple truths that could be defended through persuasive arguments. This approach contrasted sharply with the Socratic and Platonic quest for objective and eternal truth. One of the most famous sophists was Protagoras, known for his statement, "Man is the measure of all things." He argued that everything we know is filtered through our individual perceptions, and therefore, truth is relative to each person. Another notable sophist was Gorgias, who argued that nothing exists, and if something did exist, it could not be known or communicated. Gorgias emphasized the power of rhetoric and persuasion, regardless of objective truth. The Sophists were masters of the art of rhetoric, using sophisticated techniques to convince and persuade their listeners. They taught that, with the right words, any argument could be defended and any point of view could be justified. This led to severe criticism from philosophers like Socrates and Plato, who accused the Sophists of being manipulators who distorted the truth for personal gain. Despite the criticism, the Sophists played a crucial role in the development of philosophy and education in ancient Greece. They promoted the importance of argumentation and oratory, skills that are fundamental to this day. Aristotle, a disciple of Plato, was one of the most influential philosophers of all time. Born in Stagira, Macedonia, Aristotle joined Plato's academy as a young man and remained there for about 20 years, both studying and teaching. After Plato's death, Aristotle left the academy and eventually founded his own school in Athens, the Lyceum. Unlike Plato, who believed in the existence of a separate world of ideas from the physical world, Aristotle emphasized the importance of the sensible world and empirical observation. He argued that the essence of things could be understood through observation and systematic analysis. Aristotle made significant contributions in virtually all fields of knowledge, including logic, ethics, politics, metaphysics, biology, and physics. In logic, Aristotle developed the syllogism, a method of deductive reasoning that became the foundation of formal logic. In ethics, he introduced the idea of the golden mean, suggesting that virtue lies in the balance between extremes, such as courage between recklessness and cowardice. Aristotle also had his own ideas about politics. In his work, Politics, he analyzed different forms of government and concluded that the best form of government is one that promotes the common good, Although he criticized democracy in some respects, Aristotle believed that political participation was essential for human fulfillment. In the field of metaphysics, Aristotle explored fundamental questions about existence and the nature of reality. He introduced concepts such as substance, essence, and accident, and developed the theory of four causes: material, formal, efficient, and final, to explain why things exist and change. In addition to his philosophical contributions, Aristotle made significant advances in science. He conducted detailed observations of plants and animals, classifying them into different categories and studying their characteristics and behaviors. His ideas influenced Western science for centuries and continue to be studied to this day. Aristotle's philosophy combined logical rigor with empirical observation, establishing a systematic approach that remains foundational for modern philosophy and science. After Aristotle's death, Greek philosophy entered a new period known as the Post-Socratic. This period, which extended from the 4th to the 1st century BC, was marked by the search for answers on how to live a happy life in times of uncertainty and conflict. Several philosophical schools emerged, each proposing a distinct vision of happiness and human conduct. Skepticism, founded by Pyrrho of Elis, argued that absolute knowledge is impossible to achieve. Skeptics contended that due to the limitations of the senses and reason, we can never be absolutely certain of anything. They proposed the suspension of judgment, epoché, as a way to achieve mental tranquility, ataraxia. For the skeptics, doubt was an essential tool to avoid dogmatism and frustration. Epicureanism, founded by Epicurus, stated that the pursuit of pleasure was the main goal of life. However, Epicurus did not advocate unrestrained indulgence. He distinguished between necessary and unnecessary pleasures and advocated for the pursuit of simple and lasting pleasures, such as friendship and peace of mind. Ataraxia, or mental tranquility, was seen as the highest form of pleasure. Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium, emphasized the importance of virtue and control of emotions. Stoics believed that happiness could only be achieved by living in accordance with nature and reason. They taught that we should accept fate serenely and focus only on things that are under our control. This philosophy had a significant influence in ancient Rome and continues to inspire people today. These post-Socratic philosophical currents reflected the social and political changes of the time. Greece was losing its hegemony and facing constant conflicts, prompting many philosophers to question the nature of happiness and the good life. The ideas developed during this period had a lasting impact, influencing Western thought and offering different perspectives on how to face life's challenges. Well, that was our tour through classical philosophy. Remember, I left a lot out because if I were to literally talk about everything, it would take hours and hours of video. But I hope this journey has awakened in you the same fascination that these great thinkers provoked thousands of years ago. Philosophy is not just an academic discipline. It's a way of seeing the world, of questioning, and of seeking answers to life's deepest questions. Each idea, each reflection we've explored here has the power to transform our way of thinking and living. Thank you for staying with me this far. Your interest is what makes it possible for me to continue sharing this knowledge. If you enjoyed the content and want to keep receiving videos that add value to your life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any updates. Comment below what you thought and which topics you'd like to see in future videos. Your opinion is very important to me. And remember, knowledge is the path to true freedom. Count on me and follow the white rabbit. Thank you for watching and see you next time. I won't change your life, but no one will. The difference is that I don't promise you that. What I will change is your knowledge about life. And then, what you do with it is up to you. Explore the evolution of philosophical thought from the earliest times to the present day. Meet the great thinkers, their revolutionary ideas, and how to apply them to fundamental questions of human existence. Mental health, happiness, relationships, and purpose in life. If you seek answers to life's big questions, or simply wish to better understand the human condition, this ebook is the key you've been looking for. Click the link below to purchase now and start your journey towards knowledge that truly matters. Leave the cave. The link is in the pinned comment. Thank you for staying with us, and see you next time.